Okay, we got a few series tied up at 1. We got an Anthony Edwards-Jamal Murray shootout. Before we get into it all, real quick on Kings-Warriors. So, of course, Draymond is out for Game 3. So the Warriors are going to have to really hope that Looney just doesn't pick up some fouls. They might need Michael Green. I mean, Kuminga might have to get more minutes. But Kerr has been pretty resistant to playing Kuminga in this series. You might have to get just really small with like some center lineups, especially if Looney is out of the game, where you might not technically have a center, but somebody is quote-unquote at the center position, you know? I don't know. Real quick on Game 2. I hope it didn't come across as if I was trying to blame Steph for the loss in Game 2. Like, Steph was still really good in that game overall. I also think in the mix of the whole thing, Klay's good shooting performance went a little under the radar. Anyway, on to Lakers-Grizzlies. And I think you can look at AD's performance in this one, and at least on offense. Defensively, he was doing a lot. You know, a good amount of his misses around the rim, you had like Dillon Brooks, who was just playing him like a brick wall in the post, because Dillon Brooks, you know, he's got the height disadvantage there, but he's strong as hell, and, you know, center of gravity, all that stuff, to where at least a couple of AD's misses were basically him just missing like a hook shot over Dillon Brooks, whether it be on a switch or some possessions where he was even just starting on AD, right? There was a play in the fourth, I think it was the fourth, where Desmond Bane switched onto AD, and he was fronting him in the post really, really well, and just not allowing AD to get to his spot to where the Lakers could get the entry pass, right? And so eventually it becomes like LeBron just having to make a pass to D'Lo, who misses a three off of, I think, Kennard, who was playing pretty aggressively but closed out on him really well. But they basically froze the Lakers' offense on that one. They also blocked AD a number of times. Of course, the biggest one being that Conchar one where he blocked him. And I think they were switching initially on that screen, but you know, Conchar got him from behind on one. I think Jaren had a weak side block on him one time. I believe there was David Roddy who got him once as well from behind. And the thing with those is, number one, the initial post defense was good, whether it was Jaren or Brooks or Tillman. But number two, it felt like the timing on the Grizzlies' help was a little later in this one, which could be playing with fire, because if you're too late, then it's basically the guy in a one-on-one. But it was just right to where the Lakers were not able to pick him apart on like a double team in the post, which happened a little bit in Game 1. But they were still there at the right time to just block AD or contest him or whatever. Now, from AD's perspective, he could probably tell himself, hey, listen, you give me another opportunity with Dillon Brooks guarding me in the post, and I'm going to make all those shots or I'm going to draw fouls. So we will see if there's like a drastic change for the Lakers offense moving into Game 3, but they could just be like, hey, AD, we believe in you. You're going to get the same opportunity. There was one play where LeBron and AD ran the side pick and roll, and the Grizzlies switched it, and they just kind of mucked it up, basically. But then right when AD got the ball in the post, LeBron then immediately cut. So that could be something they look to a little bit more. You know, like, yeah, the Grizzlies are not going to give LeBron the runway when AD screens for him, but you might be able to then start the process to get the next shot, you know? As for the other Lakers, I mean, Reeves fell back down to earth a little bit. The Grizzlies were still playing drop on him on some of his possessions. This time he didn't kill them on them as much. I do remember one drop possession on D'Lo where Tillman was dropping back, and then Bane did a great job of just kind of being all over D'Lo to where he went for the pull-up, but he didn't really have a lot of daylight. He wasn't comfortable on the pull-up, I guess. As for D'Lo, you know what, man? Sometimes it's as simple as dude's got to make shots, and in Game 2, he didn't make shots like that. He had opportunities. Rui, once again, dropping 20. And, you know, if Rui's going to continue to make threes like this, then he's just kind of a solid all-around reliable wing for the Lakers, where, I mean, hell, his first bucket of the game kind of sums it up, where it's like, in the swing offense, he gets it from Troy Brown. He just takes a one-dribble pull-up. He made it, if that wasn't obvious. I do want to talk about LeBron for just a little bit here before we get to the Grizzlies. It is interesting to see the 38-year-old LeBron with his managing his stamina and having to take a couple more jump shots, but still being able to pull off just a crazy athletic play on any given moment. But, of course, he can't do it play after play because then he's just going to get a little too tired. I don't really have any grand statements about it. It's more so like it's just cool to see. Now, if he feels like at any moment he's going to have to ramp it up and just go into like 32-year-old LeBron, just drive, pick and roll, mismatch hunt, possession after possession in like a half-court setting, we will see. I'm going to say he still has that in him. It's just, you know, it's just going to be a more tiring sort of thing. As far as the Dillon Brooks stuff, I mean, it was pretty funny to see on Twitter people bringing up Lance Stevenson, and I had a moment of, oh yeah, LeBron's that old. Do we think LeBron is going to have any sort of moment where he loses his cool on Dillon Brooks? My guess would be no. I mean, LeBron's been here enough times in this sort of scenario. And it's not as if Brooks is the one guarding him on every single possession, like Xavier Tillman had possessions on LeBron, but, you know, Brooks is definitely going to keep trying to get a reaction out of LeBron. Anyway, now let's get to the Grizzlies offense. So first off, shout out to my guy Tyus Jones. 8 assists, 1 turnover. This is what he does. And a lot of those assists were to Xavier Tillman, and this was the Xavier Tillman game, man. And, you know, a lot of his buckets, I mean, a couple of them were like transition or an offensive rebound, which right there, good for him. But also, a good amount of them were the Lakers just basically being like, we don't think you can beat us on this situation, whether it's like Vanderbilt switching onto him, that's a size mismatch, or AD sagging off of him from three, or the Lakers putting 2 on the ball, or I believe there was one where AD was in drop, and again, basically giving Tillman some airspace, and then from there, some of these was Tillman doing something in the post, or, a one dribble thing to the basket, or catching a lob from Tyus Jones, His last one was a floater in the paint. I think that one was the one over AD dropping a bit. Outside of that, this was a defensive game. For all the stuff you can say about AD on offense, it was very different on defense. What do you have? 5 block shots and, just general sort of being in the paint and just the plays that don't result in a block, but obviously you still have an influence there. So I think getting the threes that they got out of Luke Kennard and David Roddy were kind of massive for the Grizzlies. Those guys combined for 6 threes total. Luke Kennard had 1 corner 3. Santi Aldama cut at the same time, so it kind of freaked out the Lakers defense a little bit. That's good offense, but D'Lo had to close out to Kennard, and it was not D'Lo's greatest defensive possession. I'll just put it like that. David Roddy had one where he kind of relocated at the top of the key for a 3. They ran a little screen action to where LeBron had to close out on him kind of hard. And another where Desmond Bane cut to the middle of the lane, and then LeBron, who was playing off of Roddy, had to have that moment of ooh, do I go with Bane? And then Tillman had a great cross-court pass to Roddy for the 3. The series is good, man. This is definitely more of the grind on offense game. Desmond Bane took a couple of 3s that I didn't love, but granted, he's a great shooter, so in his eyes, he can make all of them. I want to say that the Lakers were playing a form of a drop against Bane when he was coming around screens. I remember AD blocked him on one of those. Rui kind of funneled Bane into AD's help on one, which led to another block, so we got more of the defensive game I kind of thought we were going to get in this series. Who knows what we're going to get moving forward, though, based off of Game 1 and all that. And we'll see with Ja's hand injury, of course. Anyway, let's go on to Clippers-Suns. So the next game of this series is tonight of the day I'm doing this. Game 1, the Suns, they attempted, 27 mid-rangers. Game 2, they attempted even more. But in Game 2, they shot an obscene percentage on these shots. They shot 70% on mid-range jumpers, right? And obviously, this is going to be influenced a bit by the type of defense the Clippers are playing. If they're going to have Zubats giving you some airspace, you're going to take those. If you're KD, Book, CP, they're all great at them, of course. DeAndre Ayton as well, if he's going to have that 15-footer, whether that's from crowding the ball handler or, Zubats dropping on him so he can kind of flow into one. Now, from just a enjoying basketball standpoint, I love looking at these shots. Devin Booker, it seemed like Eric Gordon was on him a good amount of his possessions. He's getting around his screen, getting Booker or Gordon on his back, and then doing a little 2-dribble thing into the paint and then rising up. Or the one where they brought 2 on KD, and then it's a swing offense to Book, pump fake, and then 1 dribble into a pull-up. Of course, just every CP 15-footer in his career I've always loved to watch. It's great to look at. And Devin Booker also had 4 pull-up 3s as well. But to get back to the math stuff, if the Suns keep on shooting this amount of mid-range jumpers per game in these playoffs, then this will be the largest counter that we have ever seen to how we believe your shot chart is supposed to look in today's NBA, at least from a really talented team. So we'll see. If they make them at a high enough clip, and Game 2 was definitely a high enough clip, then it's not a problem. We've also got Torrey Craig making 3s. After in Game 1 where I was I don't know if you can bet on this again with Torrey Craig. Well, he did it again in the very next game, so there you go. Russ made his shots in Game 2, taking the airspace that Booker or Torrey Craig are giving him and just basically putting his head down and getting there, man, whether it's then getting into the post and something in the paint or just a layup. It's a good series, man. And also, I do want to have a little thing on Kawhi real quick. For all the conversation about load management in the regular season and all that stuff, he looks athletic. He is playing a whole bunch of minutes. Ty Lue is moving him around defensively, where I think he started the game on DeAndre Ayton, eventually was not on Ayton anymore, but yeah, Kawhi looks great. Now we go on to the Cavs and the Knicks. So the Knicks had a really rough, I think it was the second quarter. The thing that I noticed the most was it felt like there were more plays where Evan Mobley and Jared Allen were higher up on Brunson screens, which then kind of just froze the Knicks offense, and then it just becomes desperate drives, which led to turnovers for him, or one Randall turnover where LeVert was guarding him in the post and Randall goes midair and then tries to make a cross-court pass, which that play looked like they were just kind of out of whack. I remember where Allen, he was high up on a Brunson screen, kind of forces him baseline, and then Brunson tries to throw it to, I think it was Hartenstein in the middle, and then Donovan Mitchell comes over from the wing to steal it. He's going the other way. The second quarter, the Cavs defense was able to just really make the Knicks offense uncomfortable. I'm going to imagine that the Knicks are still going to keep daring Evan Mobley to do something in the middle of the floor. He had a better offensive game in Game 2 than Game 1. Even so, if he's screening, I still think they're going to bring 2 on the ball moving forward in the series. Garland got back on track. He had a couple of, pretty tough pull-up threes that the Knicks will feel okay about. There was like one Mitch in a drop possession where I think the Knicks or the Cavs kind of ran like a double screen that gave him some daylight. And then the Cavs also had a couple of side pick and rolls with like Mitchell running something and then Garland's on the opposite wing. And it seemed like there was one where Obi was kind of digging in a little too much. He had to help. It was a little too slow to get out there. The other thing is just everything about Karis LeVert, who, throughout the season, he grew a bit as the other wing for this Cavs team, which has been the big conversation with this team all season. Is it Okoro? Is it LeVert? Is it Chetty? Is it Dean Wade? Whoever? Is it Danny Green, who got minutes last night? Shout out to Danny. Look, man, Karis can make shots. He can keep the thing moving, and he can even bail you out of a possession occasionally. He might be the option. Now let's go on to the Heat and the Bucks. So I know the Bucks made 1,000,000 threes without Giannis. Shout out to Pat Connaughton. But I want to focus on Brook Lopez for a little bit, who had himself another, in case you forgot, I still have this in me type of game. I mean, look, the Heat, they had like a lot of wings on Brook in this game. Max Strus had possessions on him and stuff, and you could tell from the jump the Bucks were just like, you're not getting away with that in this game. Brook, he's going to get position, and we're just going to look for him. There was some great entry passes from like Drew to get it over the top to Brook to where it was basically just him right at the rim. Brook had like one attack off the closeout thing at the top of the key that was pretty hype. There was also at least one possession where I'm pretty sure the Heat were using the zone, and Brook, he just got to the middle of the floor. He had some airspace, and then from there it's just get it to him. And obviously the size is there. He's strong as hell, but just the coordination around the rim, and he can put the ball on the floor enough. Like, he still just got all of that, even if he's not, of course, featured in the offense like he was in his Brooklyn days. And now we get on to the Wolves and the Nuggets, which looked like it was going to be a blowout in Game 2, and then it became Jamal Murray and Anthony Edwards just going crazy. Look, with Murray from like the third, really the second half, you got pull-up 3 off the Jokic handoff action, 3 over Gobert on a switch, step back 3 over Edwards after a Jokic screen, pull-up over Rudy in a drop, stops on a dime for a step back 3 over, I think it was Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You get it. The shots were just going in, man, and it was just a good time. Sometimes you don't need to break things down, just appreciate the moment. And similar things for Ant. That turnaround that he had from like 15 feet was nutty. And it's just like, given his threat as a driver and all that, when he starts making just those contested threes, the step backs and everything, I don't know what the hell you do unless you were just going to straight up double team the guy.